All right, everybody, welcome back to season 2 of Bigger and Louder. It's Johnny D and Big Tony.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Yeah, so although you might be listening at a different time, it is the butt crack of dawn here in California. Well,
Yep.
At least 7 a.m. And, we're doing what we can to get things started over here. And I just wanted to start off by giving a rousing fuck you to Anthony, who is sipping on what looks like to be a deliciously frothy homemade espresso right there.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you watching, it looks like he is playing tea set with his daughter because it barely fits in his pinky. And
yes. So John, is that a hint of jealousy, or do you just are anti-espresso at this point in the morning?
Oh, no, it is there's no hint of jealousy. It is just outright envy. Because not only am I out of, I don't have a nice Breville, right? Those new Brevilles where they grind the beans, you put it in the espresso pod and boom, you got like a real nice cup of espresso like they would make in like a coffee shop, not a Starbucks, but a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of my espresso Nespressos. I am out of all the coffee Nespresso pods. Fuck Keurig. And here I am with a best part of waking up, Folgers in your cup.
Folgers in your cup? Boy, listen, I tell you, like if you stop spending money on those goopy t-shirts and put that money towards a real good espresso machine, man, I think that this would solve the problem.
Well, I think that is going on the top of my Christmas list. 1A is a driver for my golf set. 1B is in a real espresso machine.
Fuck the golf set, man. Nobody golfs anymore. You gotta get the espresso fucking gig.
Everybody golfs. Anthony can't turn his back more than 20 degrees one way or the other. So he sticks to the sports where you got to stay squared up with your opponent.
Listen, it's not that I can't golf. I just choose not to golf only because for me, I can get to the first hole. No problem, but like to go like another like 9 or 18 holes on a par 3 or on a par 4, I get very disinterested because it's just like if you go to a group of people, whether it's like 3 guys or 5, whatever your group is, you're waiting for everyone's turn to go and everyone's looking for the balls, and it's an all-day outing, assuming you get through it. And for me, it's just like I'd rather just go to a driving range and just like bet on who can smack that ball even further. I don't know. It's just me.
You're using and don't get me wrong, the merits of going to a driving range. Forget about the practice, right, of golf. Just going to a driving range and letting them rip after like a long week of work or like a batting cage, dude. Let them rip. I love that shit. But like, I think your frame of mind around the game of golf formed, and your opinion formed when we were like 16 to 19. And it's you, me, and our friends from New York going to like the crusty par 3s where, there were just as many, ball marks on the green as there were putter marks from somebody fucking slamming it down after a bad shot.
Yeah.
You were just as lucky to find someone's 9-iron in the woods from them tossing it as you were like 30 balls. So I would say, and like, this is not something I want you to do with casual friends, right? They need to be good friends. Otherwise you will be lambasted and you will be painted a recluse of the town with this attitude of yours. But I think you need to go with me or somebody and let's just see how you play, bro. That golf is something you can play into your 80s. My great uncle, my dad's uncle, plays golf until I believe he was 89 or 90. So
I mean, yeah, listen, I'm not kidding. That is one of the beauty things of that activity or sport. I mean, again, that's another debate we'll get into in a minute, like what is considered a sport or not. But like it really requires no physical like talent. I mean, yeah, you have to have talent to like, have posture and patience and like poise to like hit that ball for such a long time. But like, yeah, like look at Bob Barker. That guy was fucking cracking balls until he was in his fucking 90s. I mean, yeah, I can see like
Bob Barker was a celebrity golfer, dude. He wasn't a professional.
No, but like he was still doing it up in his age, like right before he had passed, he was still like putting around. But no, it's not so much of like it got me turned off like to golf. I'm serious. Like it was just like I don't have the patience to go. My turn, your turn. Whose ball further? Okay, it's your turn to go find your ball. Everyone's looking for the thing. Go. Is it your mind? And then everyone's kind of like howling at each other. It's your turn, John. No, it's your turn, Anthony. And it's kind of like
that's. I'm telling you, that's old school, man. Like if you understand the rules, it makes it fun. And honestly, like it's less about the game. Even like I golf with a couple buddies of mine who one is a scratch golfer. Like he'll say he's not a scratch golfer means like he doesn't have to adjust his score. Like he plays straight through the course, no handicap, zero handicap. I think he says, "Oh, I'm hitting more like a 7 right now." I'm like, "Fuck you." But my other buddy, he is probably like a mid-teens handicap, meaning like, if you have 72 strokes, you get to deduct these, the handicap strokes from your score to make it even. I'm like a fucking 25, meaning you like deduct 25 points from my score at the end of the game. So, you can play with all different skill sets. It's more about this, dude. Like if you're there to have fun, like when you're putting $20 on it or putting $5 a hole, that's not necessarily fun when you don't play and like you're gonna lose. If you just go out there with a fucking bunch of beers, or I know in your case it's probably like a Pinot Grigio, but if you go out there with like a 12-pack and music and some fucking weed, it's fun, man. Like cigars.
I mean, look, Connecticut is also considered like golf capital of America when in season, and trust me,
it's the pizza capital, yeah.
Right. I mean, listen, I'm just like, I am the black sheep of this town because I'm the one guy who doesn't golf. So everyone's always going golfing on weekends or on Sunday. You want to come? Nah, I'm cool. Like, you guys go. Let me know.
It's funny because like you're not just the black sheep in this sense. Like you're the black sheep in the sense that I think you're the only person that like smokes their own brisket in the town. You're definitely the only fucking guy with the motorcycle. Yep. Because everyone there drives a Prius or something.
No, it's electric cars, Priuses. Everyone, you even see people driving down with golf carts. It's like a thing here, and who's wearing their ascots around here. It's very common. And yes, I am like the one guy on the other side of that picket line who's just like, "Oh, you guys go right, I'm going left," and like, we'll just keep the peace.
I think for me, golf would be the one thing that you might just join and be one of the lemmings, but we'll put that on the back burner. I'll tell you what I did convert you to. I got Anthony to get the fuck off his pedestal, the Madden pedestal, and come down and play college football 25, baby. Anthony, you've had the game for a week. I've had it since the end of the first week it came out. So like about a month. You've had it for a week or two. Let me hear it. What do you think? I'm going to give you my take.
All right, so I want to preface this of everyone. So I want to be clear about this, and this is going to be a little educational for some people. Madden, if you don't know this, is kind of has the exclusive rights to the NFL, meaning they're the only company that
EA Sports,
right? And that's under the Electronic Arts company. Prior to that, you didn't know this. There were other companies doing it at the time, like there was 2K Sports and a bunch of other people who were doing it. And at the time, like they were really kind of going head to head for a little bit in terms of like the quality of the game coming out when technology was so many years ago. And at one point, EA bought the exclusive rights to only make licensed NFL games, and for a long while, they were just punching out basically a roster update every season. And as technology kept advancing, they were doing little things to make it seem like they were actually advancing the game to where we wanted to be in terms of the quality. But the reality is that it still is very much glitchy in terms of like the response that the game has when you're trying to make plays. It's just, you can just see like the quality is not where it could be because unfortunately EA has no competitors out there, right? At least for the next several more years until the license gets up with the NFL and probably NCAA. I gotta look into that. So I gotten sick and tired of just like hearing people being like, "Oh my god, EA Sports sucks, Madden sucks." It's like they're not fixing these glitches. It's all bullshit. I can't take this anymore. And then sure enough, finally, I think based off demand, NCAA comes out. And years ago, I was never a fan.
Let's just be clear.
Yeah,
it's not NCAA.
What is
NCAA? Has
25?
Nothing to do with this.
So going back to college football, which just came out, okay. So basically, they got a new, as fans really wanted it. They wanted a game back in the college sports, and yeah, it's a pretty cool game. However, it's still under the EA Sports umbrella, which means again there is no competition for them to do anything better. Yeah, they made the game feel like you're playing with a college player in terms of like what a college player might be able to physically do in a game time.
Yeah, like drop the ball, run slower, miss blocks,
all the above, right? And like
throw interceptions,
like the live crowd. Yeah, they do things to kind of get your mind off of the fact that this is an EA Sports game, but like the glitches are still there and people know about it. But the reality is that there is no other game to play, and you have a lot of football fanatics who would love to have a game every year to play. But again, until those rights get given up by EA Sports or they no longer want to do business with them, we're kind of stuck with them. So yes, I have been playing with John because it's just been something that, you got someone to play with. And I've realized also John is just as worse at fucking college football as he was as Madden. So if anyone's looking for
okay. So that leads me to my take on this. That leads me to my take. So I'm with you that I do feel that the lack of competition in the sports game genre is kind of what breeds or can breed like the lack of innovation, or let's just make it, more in American sense here. It costs more money to redevelop, right? To retool a title from start to finish, or to, to do more of a deep dive every single year than it does to just what they call like reskin it, right? Like freshen up the graphics, change a couple of the mechanics, add a new feature, right? The last big feature that I enjoyed, and this kind of goes both ways, and this is a little bit of a pop quiz. Anthony, in what year did Madden and NCAA first introduce the hit stick?
I think it was, if I'm mistaken, I believe it was 2005, if I'm mistaken.
Good fucking work, dude. That's a true fan. I actually had to confirm it because I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, 2000. I don't think it was 2004 because that's when Mike Vick was on the cover.
Mike Vick,
and
it was Ray Lewis. I know. I never met.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Ray Lewis on the cover
with the Ravens. That was like the defensive. It was the first time we ever saw, and this is also a fun fact for people. Historically on these football covers, it was always a wide receiver, a running back, or a quarterback. It was always offensive. He was the first guy to break the mold to have a first-time defensive player on that cover. And they're like, you know what? If we're going to break the mold, let's do something to kind of like add something to the flavor. We're going to put a new hit stick in. So therefore, if you're coming close to a player with a ball, you can deliver this, this ever-crushing blow if you just land it just right, which you'd hear loud sound effects. Awesome. And it was pretty cool, but like it was
fumble.
Also one of those,
an incomplete pass coming across the middle. And I think to me, dude, like that was one of the last great innovations, because some people would go back to, I think it was like 2016, 2017, when they started introducing the like over the top mode, like where you could, your player had special skills that were activated based on stats in the game and performance in the game. So I think, and this is like, our millennial take and my millennial take on it, that when they introduced those abilities, that was the real downfall of the in-game play, not the whole title itself, but the in-game play where you could be Mr. Rookie Patrick Mahomes and drop back 40 yards behind the line of scrimmage and still bomb it 80 yards downfield to an open Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek was on the team back then, right? So it was crazy. And that was true with so many players and so many different teams that it just made it not enjoyable, because you would go online and people would be bombing it. Well, fast forward to this fucking title. That is exactly what happens now. There are some glitch plays, and this is going to probably exist forever, that just seem to work every time. Now, I will sit here and not be a pussy, and I will admit that Anthony has beaten me either marginally or handedly in every game we've played so far. I think we played 4 or 5 games, right? We played, I'd say it's 5. I think it's 5 games. I think the closest I got was within 7 points. I think I was leading. The times I lead, it's like 7-0, and then the game turns around. Now
it's a blowout.
I don't want to expose your entire playbook here, so let's just talk about the one play that I have a problem with. So Anthony will run a nickel defensive set in man coverage with the 2 Mike linebackers stuffed at the line. I think it's called like, I forget what it's called, like nickel mid or something. But what is the defense that you run? Yeah, let's talk about it, because this is nuts. And don't get me wrong, he plays the free safety, and he is great in his own run support with his stick skills. But the play itself, tell us what you do to manipulate the line and the linebackers, because I will tell you now, this is one of the most unstoppable defenses in the game.
So yeah, like every defense, and again, this segment is really for you sports nuts and gamers out there. So like in this, since we're on the topic, but this play, it's in a nickel set, and again, some teams call it, nickel mid blitz. They call it's something else where maybe the line or the linebackers are slightly shifted, more left or more right, or maybe their gaps are just a little bit like tweaked here and there, but it's essentially the same premise where it's still a man. Now, what you typically do is like with this blitz, and it's one of these plays that it works very well, right? It does work very well, but like when this play misses, you miss big, whether you miss it in the flats or down deep, especially if you have a hot receiver who can burn your secondary really quickly. And therefore, it's like you got to buy yourself some time to get to the quarterback. So it's one of those like gamble and like, it's kind of like a roulette game. Like
it's a roulette gamble where it's fixed about 90% to the guy running it, because if your line isn't adjusted to max protection, you can't. You obviously can't block 7 or 8 guys that are coming with 5 linemen.
Right.
So the other obstacle in this game, which it's part of the game, and it's definitely part of college football. So it's like I'm not going to hate on it, but I will say that the crowd effect in college football 25 is probably the biggest element or biggest obstacle, excuse me.
Yeah.
That you need to tackle when being the away team, especially when you're playing, anybody from like kind of like the middle of the pack. Like if you're playing a top 25 team, fucking forget about it. But there are still teams like, Wisconsin, for example, that if you go into that stadium, you can't even see your pass pattern. So when you go to see your pass pattern, the whole thing is squiggling.
Yeah.
So you can't audible and you can't get around it. So like that's where like it does become a little bit of a hindrance. But let me pose this more as a question, dude, because we could sit here and like kind of talk about this specific game. But let me ask, like I know you don't play 2K, NBA 2K, and I know you don't play the MLB The Show. But have you tried either of those like at any time, like over the past couple of decades? Because where I'm going with this, and I'll kind of give you my 2 cents first. I feel like those 2 games still have kept the integrity of the gameplay, especially from talking to people who play. And like I played a little bit of The Show, downloaded 2K, but I haven't played it. That they keep like the integrity of the game there. Like there aren't these like crazy glitches where it's angels in the outfield and you're jumping up, 20 feet, or, you're not dunking from the foul line, in NBA 2K. And I think like the question I have is, do you look for more of a simulation? Is that the football game that you're looking for? Like if you were going to be watching a game, do you want it to play like you're watching? Or do you want to be able to run a streak 3 times in a row and hit one of them? Or, do you want to be able to just keep running the same play over and over again and keep it more like a blitz, or like, the game that we had a brief stint with, wild card football? Or do you want to see, like, what are you looking for, man?
In a perfect world, I do want the full simulation, right? I think that's what everyone's striving for, because once you realize that there's a glitch and people are going to expose to that or not play into those glitches is enough. I think that's something that I do very well, even though like I don't tell you that. Like I think I can suspect, like if I do this in the game or this in the game, I think it's going to work against me, not whether it's throwing a ball or the line or whatever it may be, right? It's like I played long enough to know, like, okay, like if I do this, there's a good chance it could happen immediately or shortly after. So I then expose those glitches to my favor. So like, let's just go back to that. And like, if you like, this is something that's a fact. This is also some of you gamers, you can even try. If you actually see yourself in man coverage, let's say, and they're pressed on you, and you want to get a quick touchdown, let's say you have someone like Tyreek Hill who has like a 98 speed, right? And you see there's only one free safety in the back, right? There's not double coverage, just one guy. That's your glitch right there. You can send Tyreek Hill on a fly, wait a second or two, throw a bomb down to the 30-yard, he'll get it. Like it's just there, he's more faster in the backfield by the time he catches up speed. That's something if you look for, it's an instant touchdown. But the shorthand of it is like, no, I do want the full simulation, because that's what everyone has been asking for. Like they want all these little issues,
the nuances of football.
They're done. And to your point earlier, because again, we're on the gaming topic, I don't see these glitches as much in MLB. Yes, I have played MLB because there was a while I was not buying any football game. It was like the same thing over and over and over again. I'm like, I got, So anyway, I did purchase MLB one time just to play it, just be like, how much, can I get into this? And I was like, it was like 50-50. But I did not see the issues in those games, or even as I've talked to other people. And I think the reason being for two reasons. First of all, with the NBA, I think if I'm mistaken, they had NBA Live still coming out, and they have 2K. I could be wrong, but like if 2K owns it
now, yeah,
okay,
it's
fine.
The same thing. They basically split. Like the football went with EA,
right,
and basketball went with 2K.
2K, okay, maybe 2K just had the juice with it, because that was something I remember for a while. Like 2K and NBA Live were like going every year. They were, from what I heard, it was like, how can we make this game better?
Competition.
It was good, and people loved it. But like now 2K owns it. But anyway, and I think the reason, but the moral is like back to the root of it, is like the reason why I don't see or not heard of these glitches happening as much is in the baseball game. It's like you got 9 players in the outfield, you got 1 guy at bat. In basketball, it's 5-on-5. It's like with football, you have 10 guys at the line. There's like a simulation of activity going on. It's saying there's so much data going on in one play in football at that instance, versus a game of basketball where it's just back and forth, back and forth. There's just not much data the computer has to interpret, analyze, take in, and shoot it back out again. The reason why this is happening is because EA Sports has always been using the same game engine from start to finish, and it doesn't help the game out when you have essentially 22 people on the field at the same time with that kind of activity, that the game has to interpret that data, spit it back out, especially when players are kind of like at will when you're trying to make a play, and the game has to react off a tackle or the animation of that tackle or the way you're running the ball. That's why I think the football games have more glitches in them, for that matter. And again, EA Sports has not done anything to resolve it, because probably it's going to cost them more money. It's going to
the real real obstacle too. And this is like, I'm not saying I'm not trying to socialize the video game industry here, but it seems like they're just chasing the dollar, right? So
yeah,
and now here we go. There's an element of both college football and Madden that I've refused to take part in for over 10 years. Okay. And I will never do this, because this is what I believe started a really sharp decline in the quality of all of our video games across all the platforms. And it's microtransactions. And in these games, the way that they present themselves is under the ultimate team tag, right? Whether it's the Madden ultimate team or the road to the playoff, whatever it is, when you have to purchase packs of players, like you call it a microtransaction, you paid your $60, $70, $80, or if you're nuts, $120 to play 3 days early for these games, install it. You have your offline or your kind of canned game modes available, the dynasty games, the online head-to-head, just to play now. But these other features require you to make routine, regular purchases. And ultimately, it's a pay-to-play environment where the better team, the guy who's spending all that, 50, 60, 70, 80, $100 more after the purchase of the game to buy a fucking Dan Marino and a Randy Moss, and have Urlacher next to Ray Lewis, and have Mean Joe Green across from, Strahan and Aaron Donald in the middle. Like it's just crazy to me, having, that type of game environment's great, but it targets a very certain type of player, right? Who's just going to pour their money into this game. And I've peeled back the onion, or, seen behind the curtain, whatever fucking pun you want to use. With some close friends of ours and I've asked them, like, what drives this? Like, why are these kids buying all these damn players? Why can't they just play the game like we did back in the day?
Good accent, by the way.
Yeah. I had to bit my tongue, or excuse me, I had to bite my tongue or put my foot in my mouth or whatever you want, because I got shut down real quick. Do you think, Anthony, it's the 14, 15, 16-year-old kids sneaking into their mom's purse with getting their credit card, buying Madden Ultimate packs? No, it is not. It is the 24 through 40 age year bracket that we have fallen into and will continue to fall into for the next couple of years, who have disposable income and just keep pouring their fucking dollars down the drain here. It is not a generational thing. It's my generation who grew up with video games, who obviously refuse to let them go, who just say, you know what, what's another $20? Like, I'm a victim of it in the game Rocket League. Rocket League, for those of you who don't know, it's basically 3-on-3 soccer, except you drive a car and it's anti-gravity, right? So you're playing soccer with a car. I paid $2 to have the Ecto-1 Ghostbuster car as my vehicle. I paid another $2 to have a New York Giants themed car.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh my God, I'm falling down the same fucking slope. And I had to stop. You know, there's Ninja Turtles cars, there's Spider-Man cars, there's all these things that you can buy.
I mean, look, listen, man, at the end, it's a waste of money, and you know as well as I do. It's just like, this is the attraction, the allure of, like, if you game partially or entirely, or if you're, you know, whatever it may be, they got to find something to make a bit more money, just because how technology is nowadays. It's not like years ago, like back in the Atari years, where like you buy the game, that's it. Like, whatever what it is that's what it is. Now it's like, okay, well, technology has the ability for us to, you know, interact with each other and like compare what we have to somebody else online. It's just like they got to find a way. And I agree, like, you know, these little microtransactions, in a weird way, it is kind of like cryptocurrency, where like what you are purchasing is only for that. It's under the umbrella of kind of cryptocurrency, where like you're buying tokens, but like these tokens only go to the game extras in that game, or it could be applied someplace else, because I think at some point there will be more intrinsic value as the years go on. Technology keeps advancing, specifically in the gaming world, and that money is only for that. It's kind of like when you look at your bank statement or your bank information, it's like everything's digital. It's a digital number, that it's no longer cash in your hand that's more valuable. Now it's everything's on like a digital point system.
Right. I think that's like a really good point. That's a tangent. All right, so here we go. Here's the episode 3 rabbit hole. Okay. And make sure you do follow us on all of our socials, guys, because this one's going to be a good one.
I just blew John's mind.
Think about the movie Ready Player One. Okay. Ready Player One is basically a metaverse, a dystopian future, I would think, where the masses of the population, right, the 99%, are basically living in fucking train cars, storage units, right? They're using these, you know, what we would now consider to be innovative, and maybe this is the way that this starts to snowball, is if you throw a storage unit on the side of your house, you could retrofit that to be whatever you want. So these players all live in that, and they spend all of their time in this metaverse, purchasing things, making friends, changing and altering their digital and appearance. Who's to say that they don't put the kibosh on GTA 6 until everybody has a VR set and that VR is more pervasive? And that becomes our first real metaverse game, where you would put on your helmet, put on your little face mask. All the purchases that you basically make in the game exist today, except it's more interactive, where if you see somebody walking on the street, you could be like, hey, yo, what's up? Come and hang out in my place, or pull your 9 out and blast them, right? whatever that might be in the metaverse, there you are. So, you know, the cars that you buy in this game, the house that you have in this game is going to be how you're perceived by the other players in the game. And they would want to come hang out at your mansion. They would want to come to your arcade or your nightclub or whatever that might be, right? Or they would want to work for your cocaine business. So I think like that to me would be like one of these first kind of introductories to that, you know, and GTA. Yeah, with GTA 6 or like, you know, maybe GTA 7, right? Like maybe we see it in not 10 years, you know, it's not another 10 or 12 years, but, you know, in 5 or 6 years, you know, more people will have VR.
Is your thought more like, is the metaverse going to happen sooner or later, or if it was, since you know it does exist, or we kind of we have it at its infancy stage right now, you want to just see it first apply to GTA first as the first game to do so?
Well, not even that I want to. I just think that would be the most natural way to do it. right? Or like let's make it
It's a
even
world game.
less.
You can do it in any world game, whether it's
Right. So
that or
what I was
regular
going to say is
Banter.
like Sims, like take the Sims where it's like less violent, more family friendly. You would be able to just put on your Apple glasses,
Yeah.
you'd be connected to this metaverse, and you would now have a simmed life, right? Like you would purchase your mansion, you would get a job, whatever you wanted to do in that environment would be your quote unquote, meta personality or your meta self. Where like think about it like this. Now, I think this is coming sooner rather than later. Think about the movie Minority Report for a second as well, right? Like I know we have all these pop culture references here, guys, so bear with us, right? Maybe we'll put some citations in, but if you've seen Minority Report, I'm not talking about how they're predicting the future. No, I'm talking about how everything is basically augmented reality, right? Now, there's a difference between VR, virtual, and augmented AR, right? Our realities, where virtual reality is you're putting on a headset and you're entering into this other universe. Conversely, augmented reality is you're putting on a headset and it's altering our universe. So Minority Report is basically that without a headset, where if you walk past the store, scanners are reading who you are by your facial recognition or your eye scans. They are looking through in an instant all of your purchase history, your likes and dislikes, and it's a targeted to your eyes and your visual path only, an advertisement as you walk by. Think about this in even a more practical sense. If you were owning like a pizzeria or had a local business, or a club, someone would be walking down the street. They would have their augmented reality glasses on, and I see this really bright light, or this gold star flashing above this pizzeria. That means it's rated high on Yelp. So as I walk in the door, there's a virtual button, like a doorbell, bing, that I hit with my hand virtually, and it signifies that I'm walking inside, selecting my discount, and now I'm in this pizzeria with my augmented reality, and they've now snagged me because of the targeted advertisement. I think that is like our first.
So here's the question though, like, so let's say you actually do that, and because I have a point to this, to your point, you walk into the store, you hit the thing, you make your purchase. Do you now own that in the real world, or that's only exists in the meta?
So,
no.
Well, I mean, think about my example. If you walk into a pizzeria and you hit the discount button, you're not eating virtual fucking pizza, Anthony. They're going to give you a slice of pizza, then you're going to eat it. But I also think there could be because again, I'm not talking about the metaverse in that case. I'm talking about augmented reality, where think about like Pokemon Go on your phone. You hold up your phone and the Pokemon appears in my pool, right? Or my son has the Jurassic Park game, and we'll be in a restaurant, he'll throw it on, and all of a sudden there's a T-Rex in the middle of the restaurant on your phone, right? It's funny. That's a different type of world, right? Where you're making purchases in game, where I'm saying, hey, like, yes, put the headset on. You're playing, like my coffee is kicking in, so my eyes are going to start going like real wide. You put your headset on, you're in the game, you're making transactions that only live there. Augmented reality, on the other hand, is I'm walking down the street, I'm in my universe, except things that I'm seeing have been added there by whatever lens I'm wearing. So, if you're wearing Google glasses, you're going to see a bunch of like the Yelp and Google reviews, right? And maybe it's even like, oh shit, I forgot where I'm going. So I could program in my glasses to have a big fucking purple line in front of me to tell me to go right or left.
In a way, you're kind of talking a little bit about the Matrix, which is also like a topic that people believe like that's a very like it's not an impossible theory, which is like we as people are in a Matrix kind of like augmented reality where right now you and I, like South Park touched on this a little bit, where like they put like the headset on and they think like who's real, who's not. This is all being controlled from the outside, so therefore whatever I'm doing to my world, like actually, but then I mean that theory is kind of it's not impossible, but not
simulation theory. Yeah, we'll save that one for another episode when I smoke some weed.
But that's what you're talking about. But like it's either you knowingly are in the metaverse, or you are unknowingly controlling this from someplace else, and we are basically a simulation of this world from the outside. So that way, when people deceased. It's like, that's it. Like, it got disconnected. Now you enter back into the, again, like the Matrix, like, when Neo, he leaves the world and he realizes, oh, I can go back in and out of the Matrix anytime I want to.
My head's fucking plugged in, man.
Yeah, man, I get all these plugs and shit. I mean, I don't know how the fuck we got on this tangent, but like, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, here's the thing. Let's go back to the metaverse, right? Yeah, it sounds cool. Like, you can finally interact with people like the way I can interact with you in real time in a fucking world. So many worlds where, like, I hop on a plane. Hey, John, like, let's go meet here. Or not even, we're in the same town or neighborhood and we just kind of interact that way. But like, what is the value to it? Like, the reality is it's a new thing to get people hooked on. Well, I use the word internet now, but the internet and the technology, it's like you're getting us hooked even further to disconnect from people. And therefore, it's like a slow erosion to our communication style.
I mean, the cultural implications. The cultural implications of the digital world are huge, man. Like the butterfly effect from the first fucking ping, from the first pong ball, right? That went back and forth between, boop, 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 to where we are today. Like, yeah, man. I mean,
there is no value to it. It's just a thing to have, to be like.
I think, and one of the things that I think is big, especially in American culture, is like artificial value, right? Or like contrived value, where, it's think about like a financial institution where they really don't hold a value. You just have to pass your money through them and they take a cut. There's no real value that they're adding back into the marketplace, right? They're like credit cards, right? And credit card companies, they dilute the value because they're not doing anything in the process. They're just extracting some of the value from whatever situation we're in. So I think, like, in that sense, yeah, man, like video games probably more bad than good in the long run. But I will say that there's a couple things that I've noticed already that have been like, not, I want to say helpful, but have been like good signs, right, of development. My kids like playing Mario. Like, I got them a Switch, they play Mario. They'll play like some other, like, more puzzle games. My son used to get so mad at like 4 years old, or like 5, when he just turned 5 years old, that if he couldn't get past a level, that was it. He didn't want to play anymore. Fast forward to a year from now, I'm like, dude, like the struggle, that's what it's about. Right?
It's not the
satisfaction of just winning, right? It's the journey through the game, and like understanding that not just the winning is gonna teach you how to play, it's the losing, right? Like, explore different ways to beat this guy, explore things you haven't tried to beat that enemy. And I'll use the most recent example. Like, when I was playing Spider-Man 2, I played it for the second time. Like, a lot of these games now, go back to our point, have new game plus. So after you beat the game, they come up with a new mode that basically just makes it a little bit harder than, the hardest mode that you had before, right? So you go from like, incredibly hard to impossibly hard, and new, some new gadgets and stuff along the way. It took me 15 tries probably to beat the guy Craven, like, who's, the big bad guy in the game, right? The main character besides Venom. And there he was watching me saying, "Oh, don't worry, Daddy, you can do it. You can do it." And I started to get a little frustrated until he started saying that. And I'm like, "Yo, you're right, dude. Like, don't get frustrated. It's not the game. It's like something I haven't tried. I'm trying this one thing. I need to like think about the other powers and how to utilize the environment around me." So I've seen that get picked up in him. And my daughter, who will be trying one thing, over and over again in like their Ninja Turtles game, right? They can't do this. They can't beat it with Mikey. I'm like, "Hey guys, like, try it with Donnie, so you don't have to get as close, right? The longer stick." And then boom, it clicks. So like, they're trying different pathways, and it's like leading to some like rudimentary problem solving skills at a tough age. The same way that I would say, like, I find that my daughter is getting more resilient because she plays goalie in soccer. And, although it's shaving years off my life watching her back there, I can tell that, like, it's not just every save that she's learning from. It's, hey, just like a quarterback when they throw an interception, if you let one by, get up and stop the next one, right? It's not about the first shot. It's about the second shot, the third shot, the rebound. It's the same thing in a video game. It's the same thing in school or taking a test. Keep trying, keep busting your ass, and develop some resiliency. because I don't think there's enough like adversity that a lot of our kids are facing. And like, I shouldn't say this. This is a very privileged response here, but middle class kids don't have a lot of adversity anymore, right? I think it's making sure that they understand that there is a struggle out there, and a lot of people have struggle. And like, no, video games are not going to be the thing that teach my kids that other kids struggle, but there are signs that say like, look, just because, you know, you get to sit back and play video games for an hour every day or like a couple hours on the weekend doesn't mean everybody has access to this stuff, right? Just because you have an iPad doesn't mean that everybody has an iPad, right? So it's kind of teaching them, you know, about like, you know, society and how we function all at the same time. So I don't know. That was like a long way to say like, you know, yeah, technology is pervasive and we're probably setting our kids up to be plugged in full time to a simulation, but you know what?
Yeah, I think
there's got to be some silver lining.
Well, listen,
some silver lining in there.
Man, you didn't. Do you need an oxygen tank? Because you just went a whole 3 minutes without stopping, man.
I think the thing for me, dude, is that when I make the drip coffee, like the regular pot of coffee, I don't know how many scoops to really put in. So I always just fill up the fucking coffee pot. And now I'm gonna like put my head through the wall. Jody gets back from a 2-week long trip today for business. She's been away for 2 weeks. The house will be fucking spotless because I am gonna crash through the wall as soon as this episode goes because my foot is tapping like this under the table with all the caffeine.
Yeah.
So that's good, man. But hey, look, you know, training camp is here. Preseason football is here, fellas. Ladies, say goodbye to us for the next couple of months. And I think, you know, we are going to be diving headfirst into football. I mean, Anthony and I, like, yeah, we watch other sports, but football is our little baby. So we're going to be talking a lot of Giants, a lot of football. Anthony, you playing any fantasy this year?
Unfortunately, yes. So I'm actually with a bunch of group dads over here who kind of forced me. They politely forced me into it. Otherwise, I can't be part of the dad group. So like, if anyone knows me, I like the idea of fantasy, but I hate it because you cannot control the outcome. It's just you're betting on the odds of this actually happening. And you can, even if you get a stacked lineup, there's still no guarantee they're going to produce the way they should. There's so many factors, whether it's just they had an off game or there was weather inclements or somebody gets hurt or they changed the play scheme where they're favoring another player versus their star. I mean, there's just so many.
Oh my God, football.
So, and that's fine by me. I love the game, but to actually,
you're doing only one league.
Doing one league, but you know something to what you were talking about earlier about the metaverse and getting hooked and just sort of like, you know, you mentioned something about, you know, paying, you know, this little, you're paying your money where it gets dispensed out. Like you're paying for an experience, which really, again, has no really intrinsic value other than the fact that you're just adding more hours to your eyes on your screen. And even more so that dopamine kicks up to wonder, ooh, like what happened? How's my team doing? Like every other 5 minutes, you're checking your lineup to see, like, did you get a point, a half a point? Is it going the way you think it should? Oh my! And actually, like I said, like this is actually increasing anxiety.
I mean, it's gambling. Yeah, that's gambling. That's gambling for you.
It's gambling. No, it's gambling. But
I mean, again, it literally is gambling. Yeah,
so yeah. We as consumers are on our phones and technology and all these screens just way too much. And this
oh my God, Anthony, stop it! Anthony's been trying to have this conversation on every episode since season.
It's true. You know something? It's true. It's very much true. It's very true.
Technology is more good than bad, dude. That people were still naysaying the fucking wheel. People were like, hey, we got a faster way to get to town. They're like, I'm going to walk. We should be walking. Anthony was one of the people like, down with the wheel. Down with the wheel.
No, I said, listen, I'm all cool for all the things through the internet when it's actually, you know, it's kept in a, I don't know how to say this delicately, like, online banking, awesome. Anything that just seems to make my life and everyone else's life a bit more seamless and quicker to do things that are actually important. Yeah, like again, GPS, online banking, booking your airline, things like that, that actually you need the internet and things like that for. But when you have things like Rocket League and actually buying things through these video games and finding ways to like, you know, tickle that little dopamine that's in all of our heads. Ooh, I need this, I need this, I need that, I need that.
Your dopamine. Okay, let's just be clear here. Everybody's brain gets tickled by something different. What Some people get tickled by video games. You get tickled by a big slab of meat. Or like, your dopamine kick is having a big fat hog, riding on a big hog.
Yeah, but
right?
something
that's your kick.
Like those activities though actually do force actual conversation and activities with real people in real time, not just like going to the couch and then withdrawing for 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that like 3 or 4 people are coming over every Sunday at 7 a.m. or 4 a.m., whatever time you're waking up to smoke a brisket.
You know what I do when I smoke my brisket? My neighbor comes out, hey, Anthony, hey, what's going on? We said we shoot the shit. How you doing? We talk.
That's because he's trying to steal a piece of meat.
No, and then something? My neighbor's asking.
He wants the first fucking bark.
No, man, listen, those activities promote social interaction in real time where we don't even look at our screen, and it's irrefutable. It's indefensible. Like, you can't say that it does versus
no. I mean, look, man, you are talking to, and I would say leaps and bounds ahead of you, the most social person you know. But like, let's just be honest. Anthony, in one breath, is saying like, oh, if you play video games too much, John, you're not going to hang out with anybody. You're never going to see anybody. Meanwhile, he's also like, I can't believe you planned the entire 20-year high school reunion from California, like, which I did not. Shout out to, all the 2004 wizards that are doing that. But it's like, yo, you can't have it both ways, bro. Like, I'm incredibly social. It's like, but at the same time, you got to recharge your battery, and like some ways,
listen,
this is the way to do it.
No, you're missing my point. I didn't say that it's so terrible. I said, like, as long as we have, as humans and consumers, have self-control around it, no problem. Like, I think there's a lot of value to being online.
Oh, it's self-control, just like with anything else, man. Like, too many carbs, too much booze, too much weed. Like, yes, people need to learn self-control.
Yeah, self-control, but like. But to your point about the metaverse, if that actually comes to fruition to the way that we were talking about, that the movies depicted, forget it. Like, we're just never we literally are going to be somewhat in a post-apocalyptic fucking world where, yes, we will be living in shacks and living in these like, mediocre accommodations, because all we want to do is just put on a fucking headset, buy everything through the metaverse, and just interact with people there and not have to leave our home. We're simulating a real world versus.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Come on.
Yeah, but let's getting back to fantasy football, and we'll end it up over there. Like, getting back to fantasy football, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me right back in. Last year, I had retired, Anthony. I retired from fantasy football 8 years ago. When my daughter was born, I decided to hang it up. I was doing 3-4 years I was doing 3 or 4 leagues a year. I was running a league out of a bar that had, I think, 48 different teams in it, right? It was nuts. Shout out to the author of Fantasy Football for Dummies out there, Marty, who turned that league over to me. But I just had enough, man. I was really burnt out. And I think for me, it was exactly what you mentioned. It was like the lack of interaction with some of my, college friends that got me back into it. They invited us to this league. I was like, and I'll save the punchline for the end, where it was not going to be low stakes. I think we said like 20 or $50. Like, let's just get back into it. We'll start it off slow. But draft
it never starts off slow. It's like once you actually get on the draft order, it's like, oh my God, I'm in this. Like, let's do it. You see all those
right? You got to dive in head first. Well, listen to how this played out. So by draft night, there were only 6 of us. Yes, you heard it right. A fantasy football league with only 6 teams. So back to your point. Exactly. So back to what you were saying, where it becomes this like, who's getting hurt? Who's going to perform? I would challenge people to say, hey, I'm in a 10, I'm in a 12, or God forbid a 14 or 16 team league. But when you have 6 teams, it is not about the draft. It is about the matchup. It is about analyzing the depth charts. Are like, okay, who will get the targets? Who is going to be in the game? How are they going to play against the Miami, who throws the ball wildly? How are they going to match up against a team like that? Or, a stacked defense, right? If you're going up against the Jets defense, although you think that they're not going to do well on offense, the Jets defense is going to be out there quite a bit on the field. They're going to put up some points, some sacks, some interceptions, etc. So what we ended up doing was we said, we're going to auto draft everybody auto draft, and we just let the draft roll in. You got your team, and it was about the management of the season. That was like the first little taste, because from that point, that league is now gone. And now I have been invited to the Thunderdome, the name of the league that I will be participating in, that has 16 fucking teams. Apparently there's a super flex position that I still need to understand. And where this is really, where I think like the hook really got me, is I've never heard of this before, but they call it the Centaur League. Okay. So we have our normal fantasy bullshit, right? We're going to draft, but then we have a second part where everybody bids on two NFL teams. And then from that point, you make a roster with those NFL team rosters. So if I want to auction up and say, you know what, I want the Chiefs, I probably would have to spend so much, I'll probably end up with the fucking Giants, right? As my second team. And then I got to come up with a starting fantasy lineup with just those two rosters, any combination of those players. So I think that is really what got me. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, I've got like these full rosters at my disposal. And again, I can now play the matchup of the week, right? So that's really sinking me in. And like, we'll keep you posted on that. You know, good thing is Anthony and I are not in the same league and probably will never be again. And I think that's probably best for our friendship. So
I don't think we ever
critique our teams.
I don't think we ever were in one. So that's actually good. I don't ever remember playing. So
yeah, that's why we can still talk to each other.
Because I never because even many years ago when fantasy was just getting off the ground going, I never liked it. I was just like, this is so stupid. Like, I'm not going to just sit and like watch fucking numbers go up and down. I said, like, if anything,
you know, you don't need to watch it. You can just wait to the end of the game.
But nobody ever just fucking does that. Like, you are going to be watching your fucking phone all fucking day being like, oh, like, how close am I? Oh, please get one more catch. Oh my God, stop them. Come on, cut the shit. You know you fucking do it too. So don't fucking lie to me. So that's
I am not that invested, man. Maybe this year I'll start coming out a little bit more, but I'm not that invested.
I guarantee you in week 1, if not week 1 and week 4, we're going to have the next podcast. John's going to throw his fist down and tell us a story about how much time he lost looking at his phone when he almost won the game and he lost by a half a point if you're in Yahoo League or if you're in the ESPN League, depending on what you're using. And we're going to hear it. We're never going to hear the end of it. You know, this is why, well, to my last point on this is that this is why, years ago before I figured out and we all agreed that the legitimate games, I was more prone on let's do a league in the Madden or the football game leagues, because something you can do your own friend and create your own draft order and do or your own teams and actually make your own charting where you can actually control it in some shape or form, and it actually became like a real playoff between your friends, like where one guy starts, where one guy ends, and actually
you can do that in NCAA. Wow. You can do that in college football 25. You can do an online dynasty with your friends.
No, yeah, I'm saying, but at least you can control that. Like, you can control the outcome more than just drafting players and whatever happens. So, but mark my words, people, as we mark up, you're going to hear from John. John's going to have a venting session about how he almost won that game by X amount of points, and we're never going to hear the end of it. I guarantee.
Well, great, because Anthony will never be allowed to share any of his fantasy football woes on this podcast.
Oh, no, I won't. I refuse to. I refuse.
All right, guys. Well, hey, football season is upon us. We'll be checking back in with you guys real soon. Thanks for joining us here on Bigger and Louder.